Hello, everybody. Let's see what we have. What's up? Anyway. So we are back, guys. So hello. Okay, we're gonna start with like, are you serious? Okay, it's just loading. Okay, it's slow because I'm streaming. Anytime now. Cool, nice. So okay, we're applied visual design. We have finished basic CSS on the yesterday stream, and today we are going to start with the applied visuals design challenge. Introduction to the applied visual design challenge. Visual design and web development is a broad topic. It combines typography, color theory, graphics, animation, page layout to help deliver a site's message. The definition of good design is a well discussed subject, with many books on the theme. At a basic level, most of content provides the user with information. The visual design of the page can influence its presentation and user's experience. In web development, HTML gives a structure and semantics to a page content, and CSS controls the layout and appearance of it. This section covers some of the basic tools developers use to create their own visual designs. Go to the first lesson. Okay. Google was founded by etc. Nice. So oh my god, because was stupid decision. Anyway, this section of the circularism focuses on applied visual design. The first group of challenge build an ungiven card layout to show a number of core principles. Text is often a large part of web content. CSS has several options for how to align it with the text align property. So what's the point? Your code should text align property on the h4 tag to set it to center. Your code should use the text align property on the p tag to set it to justify. So h4 text align center. Nice. Text align justify. Justify. Nice, okay. Now that is cool, let's go. Maybe later. Maybe when I have money. Okay. Apply visual design adjust the width of an element using width property. You can specify the width of an element. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the interrupting. So you can specify the width of an element using the width property in CSS. Values can be given in relative length units such as em, absolute length units such as pixel, or as percentage of its containing parent element. Here is an example of that changed the width of an image to 220 pixels. Add width property to entire card, set it to an absolute value of 245 pixels. Use the whole card class to select the element. Your code should change the width property of the card to 245 pixels by using the full card class selector. Here width 245 45 pixel. Like what the heck? Nice. You can specify the height of an element using the height property in CSS. Similar to the width property, here is an example that changed the height of an image to 20 pixels. Add the height property to the h4 tag and set it to 25 pixels. Height 25 pixels. Next. So applied Visual Studio oh my god. Applied Visual Design uses a strong tag to make text bold. You can use strong tag to make the text bold, draw attention to text and symbolize that it's important. With the strong tag, the browser applies the CSS of font weight bold to the element. Wrap a strong tag around Stanford University. Stanford is University. Strong slash right inside the B tag should wrap around the words then. Okay, nice. Boom boom. University. Thank you. The strong tag should wrap around the words Stanford University. Stanford University. Run the tests. Like what? It's all these spaces, man. Just by the way, spaces doesn't affect the final result. Like spaces in code. Like for example, if I would say like here, Google, if I pressed like for example this amount of spaces, doesn't change anything here. So use the U tag to underline text or you can use so you can use text declaration underline with the CSS, or you can just use the U tag in the HTML. So PhD students. Yeah. Should wrap. To emphasize text, you can use em tag. This displays text as italicized as the browser applies the CSS of font style italic to the element. Wrap an em tag around the content of the paragraph tag to give it emphasize. So p tag. So the whole paragraph will be emphasized. Cool. Next. It's the same damn mistake every single time. Okay, my bad. That's what happens when you take something for granted. Applied visual design uses the S tag to strike through. This image is when the horizontal line cuts across the character, like something like this. You would see it. Wrap this tag around Google inside the H4 tag. This /S. Voila! Anytime now? Voila! Nope. Yes, you see, it's right there. And then add the word alphabet. Besides it, we should not have the strike through formatting. Alphabet next to Google. Like, leave a space, man. Cool. Okay, create a horizontal line using the HR element. This is easy. Markup hashtag should come between the title and the paragraph. Title, choose Google alphabet. So it's right here. HR. Boom. Looks nice. Okay, adjust the background color property of text. Instead of adjusting your overall background or the color of the text to make the background easily readable, you can add background color to the element holding the text you want to emphasize. This change uses RGBA instead of hex codes or normal RGB. A stands for alpha channel. Level of opacity. The RGB value can range from 0 to 255. The alpha value can range from 1, which is fully opaque, which is solid color, and 0, which is fully transparent. RGB is good and allow you to adjust the opacity. This means you don't have to completely block out the background. You will use background color RGBA 45 0.1 for this challenge. It produces a dark gray color that is nearly transparent given the low opacity value of 0.1. To make the text stand out more, adjust the background color of the H4 element to the given RGBA value. Also, for the H4, remove the higher property and add padding of 10 pixels. So, padding 10 pixels. Background color RGBA 45.1 semicolon, and you are good to go, man. Okay, from the tests, let's go. Apply visual design. Adjust the size of a header. This is a paragraph tag. The font size of a header tag H1 through H6 should generally be larger than the font size of paragraph tag. This makes it easier for the user to visually understand the layout and level of importance of everything on the page. you use the font size property to adjust the size of the text in an element. To make the heading significantly larger than the paragraph, change the font size of the H4 tag to 27 pixel. You should have font size already. Font size 27 pixel, go. I have like 60 minutes and then I have to go. Add a box shadow to a card like element. This is a card like, anyway. Box shadow. Copy this. Thumbnail. What is it? Add an idea of thumbnail. With the selected the example sheet fields out to place a box shadow on the card. So we're gonna do something like this. Thumbnail. Recall the element by the ID. And you are good to go. Amazing. Run the test. Submit and go to next challenge. Apply visual design, decrease the opacity of an element. The opacity property in CSS is used to adjust the opacity or conversely the transparency for an item. A value of 1 is opaque work, which isn't transparent at all, so it's full solid. A value of 0.5 is half, you can see through it. A value of 0 is completely transparent, you won't see it at all. Boom. Which is those links class to select them. So here we're gonna say opacity 0.7. Next challenge. Power up, my friend. So now we have used the text transform property to make the text uppercase. Text transform property in CSS used to change the appearance of text. It's a convenient way to make sure text on a web page appears consistently without having to change the text content of the actual HTML elements. The following table shows how the different text transform values change the example text transform me. So this is lowercasing this is uppercasing every letter. This is capitalizing or uppercasing the first letter of every word. Initial. This is only like the correct way of doing things. Just uppercase the first letter of any sentence. Inherent. I don't notice this. This is the default. A text of H4 to uppercase in the text transform property. So text transform uppercase. Cool. Next. This is H1, this is H2, H3, etc. Apply it Visual Studio. Set the font size for the multiple heading elements. Set the font size of the H1 tag. Okay, so here we're gonna say like H1. Can I go here? H1 font size 68. And for saving time, we're gonna just H2, H3, H4, H4, oh my god, H4, H5, H6, H6. So changing the size 52. Hold a minute. Pixel, 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 pixel. And change this to 40. 32 pixel. 21 pixel. 40 pixel. And run the tests. Nice. Awesomeness all over the world. Set the font weight for multiple heading elements. You set the font size of each heading tag in the last challenge. Here you will adjust the font weight. The font weight property sets how thick or thin characters are in a section of text. Set the font weight of the H1 tag to 800, 600, 500, 300, blah 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 blah. I get the idea. Font weight, which is how bold is it? See, look at this, focus at this. Do you see? It's like bold in the word editor. Next is 600. After that we would have 500. Then we would go with 400, 300 and 200. Nice. Run the tests. Shall we? Set the font size of paragraph text. Font size protein says is not limited to headings. It can be applied to any element containing text. Change the value of the font size protein for the paragraph to 60 pixels to make it more visible. I can barely see anything. 16 and go. Next. I'm gonna stop the streaming by 23 o'clock. Apply visual design. Set the line height of paragraphs. CSS offers the line height property to change the height of each line in a block of text as the name suggests. It changes the amount of vertical space that each line of text gets. So let's see, what is this? The height 25 pixel. Voila. 50. Oh my goodness. 25. Okay, cool. Next. Just the hover state of an anchor. Okay. Have a color red. Have a of blue. So A hover state color blue. Boom boom boom. Run the test. Next. Okay, change an element's relative position. Well, okay. CSS treats HTML elements as its own box, which is usually referred to as CSS box model. Block level items automatically start on a new line like this. Think headings, paragraphs, and divs, while inline items sit within surrounding contents like images, spans, The default layout of elements this way is called the normal flow of a document, but CSS offers the position property to override it. When the position of an element is set to relative, it allows you to specify how CSS should move relative to its current position in the normal flow of the page. It pairs with the CSS offset properties of left or right and top or bottom. These say how many pixels percentage or EMS, which is measures unit, to move the item away from where it's normally positioned. The following example moves the paragraph 10 pixels away from the bottom position, relative bottom 10 pixels. Changing an element position to relative does not remove it from the normal flow. Other elements around it will behave as if that items were in its default position. Note, positioning gives you a lot of flexibility and power over the visual layout of a page. It's good to remember that no matter the position of elements, the underlying HTML markup should be organized and make sense when read from top to bottom. This is how users with visual impairments who rely on assistive devices like screen readers access your content. Oh my god, that's very important. Change the position of the H2 to a relative and use CSS offset to move it 50 pixels away from the top of where it sits in the normal flow. Notice there is no impact on the position of the surrounding H1 and P elements. The H2 element position relative top 50 pixels. Wow, relative. We have done a. Oh my god. Move a relatively positioned element to CSS offsets. What? The CSS offsets of top or bottom and left or right tell the browser how far to offset an element relative to where it would sit in the normal flow of the document. You are offsetting an element away from a given spot, which moves the element away from the reference side, effectively the opposite direction as you saw in the last challenge. Using the top offset moves H2 downwards. Likewise, using a left offset moves an item to the right. Use CSS offsets to move the H2 50 pixels to the right and 10 pixels out. Should use CSS your code should use a CSS offset to relatively position the H2 10 pixels upwards. In other words, move it 10 pixels away from the bottom of where it normally sits. Your code should use CSS offset to relatively position the H2 50 pixels towards the right. In other words, move it 50 pixels away from the left of where it normally sits. So I think it's bottom 10 pixels, right? Yes. Left 50 pixels. So this. Applied visualist design lock an element to its parent with absolute positioning. The next option for CSS position property is absolute, which locks the element in place relative to its parent and container. Unlike the relative position, this removes the element from the normal flow of the document, so surrounding items ignore it. The CSS offset properties, top or bottom and left or right, are used to adjust the position. So yeah guys, where we at, the ID search bar element should have position set to absolute. Your code should use the top CSS offset of 50 pixel on the, like we haven't get the idea of what's absolute. Which locks the element position. This removes the element from the normal flow of the documents. The surrounding items ignore it. The CSS offset properties top or bottom and left or right are used to adjust the position. One, I don't know what this is worth, but with absolute positioning is that it will be locked relative to its closest positioned ancestor. If you forget to add position rule to the parent item, this is typically done using position relative. The browser will keep looking up that chain and ultimately default to the body tag. Lock the search bar element to the top right of its section. To the top right, so we want to write here. So we're gonna say position absolute. Then top of 50 pixel, offset, so it will be bottom. Right, 50 pixel. Is this right? No, left. What I have done. Should use the top CSS offset of 50 pixel and the search bar. So it's top and right. Let's try this. And it worked. So yeah, that's the end of the stream. I'm sorry. Maybe we could stream tomorrow if you'd like. So anyway, thank you for watching, and don't forget to leave a comment if you didn't watch it live, and press a like if you like the video, and peace out guys.